The warning lights flashed red across the command center of Border Station Theta 7. High Admiral Vorthka's 4 eyes focused on the main display screen as his clawed hands gripped the metal railing. Something massive was moving through the outer rim of Zalthek space. "Report," Vorthka commanded, his voice echoing through the sterile chamber. Lieutenant Zexmore turned from his scanning station, his scaled face showing concern. "Sir, we detected a large vessel crossing the border 3 hours ago. The ship is enormous. Our sensors estimate it to be at least 15 kilometers long." Vorthka felt his breathing slow. In his 40 years of military service, he had never seen a ship that large. Even the mighty Zalthek battlecruisers only reached 8 kilometers. "What species does it belong to?" "Unknown, sir. The design does not match any ship in our databases. The power signature is unlike anything we have recorded." The High Admiral moved closer to the display. The ship appeared as a bright dot on the long-range sensors. But the computer had constructed a rough outline. It looked sleek but deadly, with strange curves and angles that hurt his eyes to study. "Attempt communication," he ordered. Zexmore worked at his console for several minutes. "No response, sir. We have tried all standard frequencies and protocols. The ship continues on its current heading." Vorthka studied the projected course. The vessel was moving slowly but steadily toward the inner systems of the Empire. If it maintained this speed, it would reach the core worlds within 6 days. "Speed?" he asked. "0.7 standard velocity, sir, moving at a steady pace." Too slow for an invasion fleet, Vorthka thought. Too fast for a merchant vessel. The combination troubled him more than he wanted to admit. "Send word to Imperial Command," he decided. Priority Alpha transmission. As Zexmore began encoding the message, Vorthka continued to stare at the mysterious ship. Something about its movement pattern seemed wrong. Most ships traveled in predictable ways, following established space lanes or taking the fastest routes between systems. This vessel moved with purpose but not urgency, as if it knew exactly where it was going and felt no need to hurry. Aboard the massive vessel crossing through Zalthek space, Commander Jae-min Park stood quietly on the bridge of the UES Defiance. His dark eyes scanned the status displays that surrounded his command chair. Everything showed green. All systems functioned perfectly. "Sir," called Lieutenant Sung-Ho Kim from the communications station, "we are receiving multiple hails from the aliens. They want us to respond." Park nodded slowly. "Continue monitoring, but do not reply yet. We need to reach the inner systems before we reveal our intentions." "Understood, sir." Park walked to the main viewing screen, which showed the star field ahead. Somewhere beyond those distant lights lay the Andorian system, where millions of beings were dying from a plague that their own medicine could not cure. The Defiance carried the most advanced medical equipment and supplies that Earth could provide. Every hour of delay meant more deaths. Behind him, the bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency. Park had chosen each person carefully for this mission. They understood the importance of what they were doing. They also understood the risks of crossing hostile alien territory. "Status report," Park requested. Dr. Sarah Chen looked up from her science station. "Medical bay is fully prepared, sir. We have enough supplies to treat approximately 2 million patients. The research teams are ready to begin work on the plague virus as soon as we obtain samples." "Engineering?" Chief Engineer Martinez answered from his position. "All systems running at peak efficiency, sir. The new medical scanners are online and calibrated. We can begin treating patients within minutes of arrival." Park felt satisfied with the preparations. The Defiance might look like a warship to alien sensors, but it was primarily designed as a hospital ship. The largest sections of the vessel contained medical facilities, research laboratories, and supply storage. The weapons systems existed only for defense. Back on Border Station Theta 7, Vorthka received new information that made his blood run cold. "Sir," Zexmore reported, Imperial intelligence has provided additional data on the vessel. Based on the sensor readings, they believe it might be a human ship. The command center fell silent. Every Zalthek present had heard stories about humans. The tales varied, but they all agreed on one thing. Humans were extremely dangerous. "Are you certain?" Vorthka asked quietly. The ship design matches some descriptions from the Krillian War archives. The power signature is similar to readings taken during the Battle of Vega Prime. Vorthka remembered those reports. Human ships had appeared without warning during that battle and destroyed an entire Krillian fleet in less than an hour. The survivors spoke of weapons that could tear apart matter itself and shields that could absorb any attack. "What do the humans want with our territory?" he wondered aloud. No one had an answer. Humans rarely entered this part of the galaxy. Their own space lay far from Zalthek borders. For them to send a single ship this deep into alien territory suggested something important was happening. "Sir," Zexmore announced, "we are receiving a priority message from Imperial Command." The holographic image of General Thekmos appeared above the communication platform. His expression showed the same concern that Vorthka felt. "High Admiral," the general began. "Empress Yilthara has been informed of the situation. You are ordered to maintain surveillance, but take no aggressive action. We are assembling a response fleet. General, the human ship continues to ignore our communications. That is expected. Human behavior is unpredictable. They may be testing our responses, or they may have objectives we cannot understand. Do not provoke them under any circumstances." The transmission ended, leaving Vorthka alone with his fears. Through the observation windows of the station, he could see nothing but stars and empty space. Somewhere out there, a human ship moved through the darkness toward the heart of the Empire. On the Defiance, Commander Park checked the navigation display one final time before leaving the bridge. They would reach Zalthek inner space within 4 days. After that, the real challenge would begin. He hoped the aliens would listen before they decided to fight. The lives of 2 million Androians depended on it. The emergency council chamber in the Zalthek Imperial Palace had never hosted such a tense gathering. Empress Yilthara sat upon her crystal throne, her golden scales catching the light from the massive windows that looked out across the capital city. Around the curved table, military leaders and advisors whispered among themselves in worried tones. General Thekmos activated the holographic display at the center of the room. The image of the human ship appeared, rotating slowly to show its massive bulk and strange design. "The vessel continues to approach our core systems," he reported. "It has ignored all attempts at communication and shows no signs of changing course." Ambassador Kilves from the Thorian delegation raised one of his 6 arms. "Your Imperial Majesty, my people have encountered humans before. The stories we could tell would make your blood freeze." Empress Yilthara leaned forward. "Speak." The tall, insect-like ambassador stood and began to pace. 20 years ago, during the Thorian Civil War, both sides were fighting over the mining colonies in the Kelvar system. The war had lasted 3 years. Millions had died. Then, without warning, 3 human ships appeared. The room grew quiet. Everyone wanted to hear this tale. The humans sent a single message to both fleets. They said the fighting would stop immediately, or they would stop it themselves. Our admirals laughed. 3 ships against 200? It seemed impossible. Ambassador Kilves paused, his compound eyes reflecting old memories. "The humans gave us 1 hour to withdraw our forces. When we refused, they acted. In less than 30 minutes, every weapon on every ship in both fleets stopped working. Not destroyed, simply stopped. Our engines still functioned, our life support still worked, but not a single weapon could fire." Admiral Vextra interrupted. "That is impossible. You cannot disable weapon systems without damaging the ships." Yet they did it. Kilvez continued. The human ships then broadcast detailed technical specifications of our weapons to both sides. They knew more about our own technology than we did. The war ended that day because neither side could fight anymore. Empress Yilthara felt a chill run through her body. What did the humans want in return for this assistance? Nothing. They left as suddenly as they arrived. The Thorian colonies were saved. But we never understood why the humans cared about our war. General Thekmos brought up another file. We have similar reports from the Vegan Alliance. During the Krillian invasion 5 years ago, human ships appeared and helped defend their worlds. The humans asked for no payment and claimed no territory. The vegans say human weapons can destroy entire moons, added Intelligence Chief Morkek. They speak of human soldiers who can survive in the vacuum of space, and human ships that can appear and disappear like ghosts. Ambassador Vel 9 from the Aquatic Federation spoke from her water-filled communication pod. My people tell different stories. Humans once helped us fight a plague that was killing our young. They brought medicine that worked when our own doctors had given up hope. But they also brought warships that could have conquered our entire civilization. The Empress processed this information carefully. So humans are either saviors or destroyers, depending on the circumstances. It appears so, Your Majesty, General Thekmos replied. But we have never had direct contact with them ourselves. All our information comes from other species. Admiral Vextra slammed her fist on the table. Stories and legends. We need facts. We should send our fleet to intercept this human ship and demand answers. And if the stories are true? Asked the Empress quietly. If human weapons are as powerful as these reports suggest? The question hung in the air like a toxic cloud. No one wanted to consider the possibility that their mighty fleet might be helpless against a single human vessel. Intelligence Chief Morkek activated a new display. We have been monitoring communications across our territory. Word of the human ship is spreading faster than we can contain it. Several client species are demanding protection. Others are asking if they should evacuate their homeworlds. Panic, observed Ambassador Kilvez. The mere presence of one human ship is causing panic across your empire. Empress Yilthara stood and walked to the great windows. Below her, the capital city stretched to the horizon. Millions of Zalthek citizens went about their daily lives, unaware that their empress was struggling with perhaps the most important decision in the empire's history. What do we know about human motivations? She asked, without turning around. General Thekmos consulted his files. Very little that is reliable. Some reports suggest they value individual freedom above all else. Others say they fight for those who cannot protect themselves. The few diplomatic encounters on record show them to be direct in their communication style. Dangerous when threatened, added Admiral Vextra. Every military report agrees on that point. The Empress turned back to face the council. Options? We could attempt to avoid contact, suggested Intelligence Chief Morkek. Clear all shipping from the human vessel's projected path and hope it passes through without stopping. We could try to communicate again, offered Ambassador Vel 9. Perhaps a personal message from your Imperial Majesty would receive a response. Admiral Vextra stood firm in her position. We should send our full battle fleet to intercept. Show strength. Make it clear that this is sovereign Zalthek territory. And if that provokes them into attacking? Asked the Empress. Then we learn what human weapons can actually do, the Admiral replied grimly. The debate continued for another hour, but Empress Yilthara had already made her decision. The human ship would be met, but carefully. She would not risk her people's safety on pride or military posturing. Admiral Vextra, you will take a small fleet to intercept the human vessel. No more than 6 ships. Your mission is to establish communication, not to threaten. If the humans wish to fight, 6 ships or 60 will make no difference based on these reports. The Admiral nodded reluctantly. And if they refuse to communicate? Then we will learn whether human legends are true or simply stories meant to frighten children. As the council dispersed, Empress Yilthara remained at the window, watching the stars appear in the darkening sky. Somewhere among those points of light, a human ship continued its steady approach toward the heart of her empire. By tomorrow, she would know if the stories were real. Captain Morvel stood on the bridge of the Zalthek cruiser Piercing Light, watching the human vessel grow larger on the main screen. Even at this distance, the ship's size impressed him. His fleet of 6 cruisers looked like small insects compared to the massive human dreadnought. "Sir," reported his sensor officer, "we are now within communication range. The human ship has not altered course or speed." Morvel took a deep breath. He had volunteered for this mission despite the risks because someone had to make first contact. The stories about humans might be legends, but the ship before him was very real. "Open all communication channels," he ordered. "Broadcast on every frequency we know." The communication officer worked at her station for several minutes before shaking her head. "No response, sir. The human ship appears to be listening but does not reply. Try visual signals. Perhaps they do not understand our language protocols." Flashing lights from the Zalthek ships created patterns in space, but the human vessel continued forward without acknowledging them. Morvel felt frustration building in his chest. How could they establish communication with beings who refused to respond? Aboard the UES Defiance, Commander Park watched the alien fleet maintain a cautious distance. The 6 ships were clearly military vessels, but they showed no signs of aggressive intent. Their weapons remained powered down, and their formation was more defensive than threatening. "Sir," Lieutenant Kim reported, "the alien ships have been trying to communicate for the past hour. They are using multiple frequencies and even visual signals." Park nodded. "Can we understand their messages?" Dr. Chen looked up from her analysis station. "The computer has identified their language structure. Basic translation protocols should work for simple communication." "Very well." Park moved to the communication console. "Open a channel to the lead alien vessel." The main screen shifted to show the bridge of the Zalthek ship. Captain Morvel appeared surprised when the human transmission came through, clearly translated into his language. "This is Commander Park of the Earth vessel Defiance," Park said calmly. "We apologize for not responding earlier. We were analyzing your communication methods." Morvel stared at the human on his screen. The being looked remarkably ordinary. 2 eyes, dark hair, wearing a simple uniform without elaborate decorations. This was not the terrifying creature of legend that haunted alien nightmares. "I am Captain Morvel of the Zalthek Imperial Fleet," he replied carefully. "You are traveling through sovereign territory without authorization. Please state your intentions." Park considered his response. These aliens seemed nervous, but not hostile. "We are passing through your space to reach the Andorian system. We received a distress signal requesting medical assistance." "Medical assistance?" Morvel repeated. The human ship was enormous and clearly armed. Why would such a vessel be used for medical missions? "Yes. A plague has struck the Andorian colonies. Our scientists believe we can help treat the disease." Morvel felt confusion growing. "You traveled this far to help a species that is not allied with your government?" "The Androians asked for help. We are providing it." The simple answer left Morvel speechless. In his experience, no nation sent military vessels across hostile space without expecting something in return. Yet this human commander spoke as if helping strangers was perfectly normal. "Captain," Park continued, "we would like to establish formal diplomatic contact. Would you be willing to meet in person? We have a small diplomatic facility aboard our ship, or we could meet on neutral ground." Morvel's training told him to refuse. Meeting aboard a human vessel could be a trap, but his curiosity was stronger than his fear. "There is an abandoned mining station 3 light hours from here. We could meet there." "Acceptable. We will arrive in 6 hours." The transmission ended, leaving Morvel to wonder if he had made a terrible mistake. He immediately sent a message to Imperial Command, explaining the situation and requesting instructions. The reply came within an hour. Proceed with the meeting, but maintain full security protocols. The mining station hung in space like a dead metal spider, its docking bays and corridors long abandoned. Morvel arrived first with a small diplomatic team and 2 squads of guards. He had chosen the station specifically because his forces could control all access points. When the human shuttle approached, Morvel was surprised by its small size. Only 6 beings could fit in such a craft. Either the humans were very confident, or they were walking into a trap they did not recognize. Commander Park emerged from the shuttle wearing a simple diplomatic uniform. Behind him came Dr. Chen, Lieutenant Kim, and 3 other humans. None of them appeared to be armed, though Morvel's experience told him that appearance could be deceiving. Captain Morvel, Park said, extending his hand in what Morvel recognized as a human greeting gesture. Thank you for agreeing to this meeting. Morvel cautiously touched his clawed hand to Park's fingers. The human's skin felt warm and surprisingly soft. Commander Park, I admit, I am curious about your mission. They moved to the station's old conference room, where Morvel had arranged for basic life support and communication equipment. As they sat across from each other, Morvel studied the human commander carefully. You say you are traveling to help the Androians, Morvel began. What do you expect in return? Park seemed genuinely puzzled by the question. Nothing. They asked for help. No payment? No territorial concessions? No trade agreements? No. Dr. Chen activated a small device that projected holographic images above the table. Perhaps this will help explain our mission. The images showed scenes from the Andorian colonies. Morvel saw cities filled with sick and dying beings, hospitals overflowing with patients, medical teams working desperately to save lives while the plague spread faster than they could treat it. 2 million Androians are infected, Dr. Chen explained. Their own medicine cannot stop the disease. They sent distress calls to every spacefaring civilization they could contact. Most ignored the request. A few sent messages of sympathy but no actual help. Morvel watched the tragic images with growing understanding. And humans decided to respond. Our government authorized this mission within hours of receiving the distress signal, Park confirmed. The Defiance is equipped with the most advanced medical facilities Earth can provide. We believe we can stop the plague and save most of the infected population. But why? Morvel asked. The Androians have nothing to offer humanity. Their technology is primitive compared to yours. They control no strategic resources. Why risk your lives for strangers? Park was quiet for a long moment. Captain, do you have children? The unexpected question caught Morvel off guard. Yes, 3 daughters. If they were sick and dying, and someone had medicine that could save them, would you care about politics, or payment, or strategic value? Morvel felt something shift in his understanding. No. I would care only about saving them. Every being on those colonies is someone's child, someone's parent, or friend, or loved one. We have the ability to help them. That makes it our responsibility to try. For the first time since the meeting began, Morvel truly understood what he was seeing. This was not a military conquest disguised as mercy. It was simply mercy, offered without condition or expectation of reward. The legends about humans were true, but not in the way he had expected. Captain Morvel leaned back in his chair, trying to process what he had learned. The human commander sat across from him, patiently waiting for questions. Everything Morvel thought he knew about humans was changing. Commander Park, he said slowly, may I ask about your ship? Our sensors indicate it is heavily armed. Park nodded. The Defiance carries defensive weapons. Yes. We had to cross through several hostile territories to reach this location. But the majority of our ship is dedicated to medical facilities. Dr. Chen activated her holographic projector again. This time, the images showed the interior of the human vessel. Morvel stared in amazement at vast chambers filled with medical equipment he could not identify. "These are our primary medical bays, Doctor," Chen explained. "We can treat up to 50,000 patients simultaneously. Here are the research laboratories where our teams will work to understand the Andorian plague. Trester, HCY, Tenger plague, Chenger plague." The images continued, showing corridors lined with supply storage, manufacturing facilities for creating medicines, and chambers filled with healing devices that seemed like magic to Morvel's eyes. "The weapons systems you detected occupy less than 5% of our total ship volume," Park added. "This vessel was designed primarily as a hospital, not a warship." Lieutenant Kim spoke for the first time since the meeting began. "Captain Morvel, our records show that your people have never encountered this type of plague before. We brought detailed information about similar diseases in case your medical teams would like to collaborate." Morvel felt his confusion growing. "You want to share your medical knowledge with us?" "Knowledge saves lives," Dr. Chen replied. "The more civilizations that understand how to treat diseases like this, the fewer beings will suffer in the future." A message alert sounded on Morvel's communication device. He glanced at the display and saw it was a priority transmission from Empress Yilthara herself. "Excuse me. I must take this communication." The holographic image of the Empress appeared beside the table. Her golden scales seemed to shimmer with concern. "Captain Morvel, what have you learned?" "Your Imperial Majesty, the humans are not invaders. They are medical personnel, responding to a humanitarian crisis." "Explain." Morvel gestured toward the human team. "Commander Park, would you be willing to speak directly with our Empress?" Park stood and bowed respectfully toward the hologram. "Your Imperial Majesty, I am honored by this opportunity to address you." Empress Yilthara studied the human commander carefully. Like Morvel, she was surprised by how ordinary he appeared. "Commander Park, my people have heard many stories about your species. Most of them describe humans as extremely dangerous." "We can be dangerous when protecting innocent lives," Park replied honestly. "But we prefer to heal rather than harm." "Show me," the Empress commanded. Dr. Chen quickly arranged a new holographic display showing the Andorian crisis in detail. The Empress watched the images of suffering beings with visible emotion. When the presentation ended, she remained silent for long minutes. "How many of your people are involved in this mission?" she asked finally. "The Defiance carries a crew of 8,000, Park replied. "Most are medical personnel, researchers, and support staff. We also have 500 volunteers who specialize in disaster relief." "And your government authorized this mission, knowing you might have to fight your way through hostile space?" "Yes, Your Majesty. Our leaders believe that saving lives is worth the risk." Empress Yilthara looked at Captain Morvel. "Your assessment?" "Your Majesty, I believe they are telling the truth. Their ship's configuration supports their claims. The weapons are minimal compared to the medical facilities." The Empress made her decision. "Commander Park, the Zalthek Empire will provide safe passage through our territory. We will also assign escort vessels to ensure your protection." Park seemed genuinely surprised. "Your Majesty, that is very generous. But we do not wish to impose on your resources." "You are not imposing. You are setting an example that my empire should follow." Dr. Chen leaned forward. "Your Majesty, if I may ask, do your people have experience with plague diseases? Our medical teams would welcome the opportunity to learn from Zalthek medicine." "You want to learn from us?" The Empress seemed puzzled. "Surely human medicine is far more advanced. Different civilizations often develop different approaches to healing," Dr. Chen explained. "Combining our knowledge could benefit everyone." Lieutenant Kim added, "We brought extra medical supplies that we could share with your hospitals. Some of our equipment might be useful for treating diseases common to your people." Morvel watched this exchange with growing wonder. The humans were not only willing to help strangers, but also eager to share their advanced technology with potential enemies. It defied every rule of interstellar politics he had ever learned. "Commander Park," the Empress said, "I am beginning to understand why other species tell such conflicting stories about humanity. You are indeed dangerous, but not in the way we expected." "How so, Your Majesty?" "You make other civilizations question their values by demonstrating better ones." The meeting continued for another 2 hours. The humans shared detailed technical information about their medical equipment and offered to establish ongoing cooperation agreements with the Zalthek Empire. They provided star charts showing safe routes to the Andorian system and gave detailed briefings on the plague research they had already completed. When the session ended, Morvel found himself completely changed in his thinking about humans. These were not the monsters of legend or the conquering gods described in old stories. They were simply people who had decided that helping others was more important than helping themselves. As the human shuttle prepared to leave the mining station, Dr. Chen approached Morvel with a small device. "Captain, this is a medical scanner that can detect early signs of the Andorian plague. If the disease has spread to other systems, your people will be able to identify it quickly. You are giving us your technology?" "Knowledge belongs to everyone," she replied simply. After the humans departed, Morvel stood alone on the observation deck of the abandoned station, watching both fleets continue toward the Andorian system. The human dreadnought moved with the same steady purpose as before. But now he understood that purpose. They were not heading toward conquest or glory. They were racing against time to save lives. His communication device chimed with another message from the Empress. "Captain Morvel, prepare a full report on this encounter. I want our medical teams to study human healing methods. If we are going to share this galaxy with humanity, we need to learn how to be worthy neighbors." Morvel smiled as he began composing his report. The legends about humans were true, but not in the way anyone expected. They were dangerous, because they made everyone else want to be better. The UES Defiance approached the Andorian system with an escort of 12 Zalthek vessels. Commander Park stood on his bridge, watching the dying worlds grow larger on the main screen. Even from space, he could see the signs of crisis. Normally, busy shipping lanes sat empty. The orbital stations that should have been bustling with activity showed minimal life signs. "Sir," Dr. Chen reported from her science station, "initial scans confirm the plague has spread to all 7 inhabited worlds. Population estimates show approximately 1.8 million infected, with the mortality rate still climbing." Park felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. They had traveled across hostile space and risked their lives to reach this moment. Now they had to prove that human medicine could succeed where others had failed. "Lieutenant Kim, signal our escort that we are beginning medical operations. Request that they establish a quarantine perimeter around the system." "Yes, sir." Captain Morvel's voice came through the communication system moments later. "Commander Park, our ships will maintain position at the system's edge. We have medical teams standing by if you need assistance." "Thank you, Captain. Your support has been invaluable." The Defiance entered orbit around the main Andorian world, and Park could see the planet's surface through the viewing screens. Cities that should have been bright with activity lay partially dark. The few transmission signals reaching the ship carried desperate pleas for help. "Dr. Chen, deploy the medical teams." Within minutes, hundreds of human medical personnel were boarding shuttles and transport ships. Each team carried portable equipment that could diagnose and treat the plague. The research staff remained aboard the Defiance, working to develop an improved cure using samples obtained during their journey. Park monitored the operation from the bridge while maintaining constant communication with the Andorian government. Prime Minister Veltaran appeared on the main screen, her blue-scaled face showing exhaustion and hope in equal measure. "Commander Park," she said, "our people have lost faith in recovery. Many have stopped seeking treatment because our medicine only delays the inevitable. How can we convince them to trust human methods? Actions, Prime Minister. Results speak louder than promises. The first reports came within hours. Human medical scanners could identify infected individuals long before symptoms appeared, allowing treatment to begin immediately. The human cure worked faster and more completely than anything the Andorians had developed. Most importantly, it actually cured the disease instead of merely controlling it. Word spread rapidly across the planet's surface. Humans were not only treating the sick, but also teaching local medical teams how to use the new procedures. Within 3 days, the mortality rate dropped to nearly zero. Within a week, the number of new infections was declining steadily. On the bridge of his escort vessel, Captain Morvell watched the transformation with amazement. The Andorian communication networks, which had been full of despair, now carried messages of celebration and gratitude. The dark cities were beginning to shine again as power systems came back online and normal life resumed. "Sir," his communication officer reported, "we are receiving messages from across the galaxy. News of the human mission has spread to dozens of other civilizations." Morvell read through the reports. Species that had never contacted the Zalthek Empire were asking for information about humans. Some wanted to establish diplomatic relations. Others were requesting human medical assistance for their own health crises. "Captain," came a transmission from Empress Yilthara, "I want you to document everything the humans are doing. Our own medical establishment needs to learn from their techniques." "Yes, Your Majesty." "The humans have offered to share all their research data with our medical teams." "Of course they have," the Empress replied with what sounded like amusement. "I am beginning to think that humans are incapable of keeping useful knowledge to themselves." On the surface of the main Andorian world, Dr. Chen worked alongside local doctors in a hospital that had been overwhelmed with patients just days earlier. Now most of the beds were empty, and those few patients who remained were recovering quickly. "Dr. Chen," asked Dr. Kolvaran, the hospital's chief medical officer, "how did humans develop such advanced healing techniques?" "Necessity," Dr. Chen replied while checking a patient's recovery progress. "Our own history included many terrible diseases. We learned to fight them because we had no choice. Will you teach us more about human medicine?" "We will teach anyone who wants to learn. Healing knowledge should belong to everyone." "Doctor." Kolvaran was quiet for a moment. "In our culture, medical knowledge is closely guarded. Doctors spend decades earning the right to learn advanced techniques. Your approach is very different. Different does not mean wrong," Dr. Chen said gently. "But consider this. How many lives could be saved if every healer had access to the best available knowledge?" The concept was revolutionary to Andorian thinking, but the results were undeniable. Human methods had saved their entire civilization. In less than 2 weeks, Commander Park received regular updates from all 7 worlds in the system. The pattern was the same everywhere. Rapid treatment, effective cures, and grateful populations. The human medical teams worked tirelessly, often going without rest to treat as many patients as possible. "Sir," Lieutenant Kim reported, "we are receiving a transmission from Earth Command." Admiral Thompson appeared on the main screen, her expression showing pride and relief. "Commander Park, preliminary reports indicate complete success. How are your people holding up?" Tired but determined, Admiral. The plague is under control on all worlds. We should be able to declare the system completely clean within another week." "Outstanding work. I have additional orders for you." Park waited for the details. Several alien governments have requested human medical assistance for their own crises. The Council has approved the establishment of a permanent medical mission in this sector. The Defiance will become the flagship of humanity's first interstellar humanitarian fleet. Park felt a mixture of excitement and responsibility. "Understood, Admiral. We will need additional medical personnel and supplies. Already being arranged. 3 more hospital ships are en route. along with diplomatic staff, to establish formal relations with cooperative alien governments. The transmission ended, and Park looked around his bridge at the crew members who had shared this historic mission. They had crossed hostile space, faced the unknown, and saved millions of lives. Now they were about to become humanity's representatives to an entire galaxy. "Sir, Doctor," Chen called from her station, "the Andorian government wants to hold a formal ceremony to thank our medical teams. They also want to establish permanent cultural and scientific exchange programs with Earth." Chen called, "On the programs." Park smiled. "Tell them we would be honored." Through the main viewing screen, he could see Andorian ships beginning to move normally through their system again. Families were being reunited. Children who had been dying were now playing in hospital gardens. An entire civilization had been saved. Captain Morville's voice came through the communication system one final time. "Commander Park, Empress Yilthara has asked me to extend an invitation. She would like you to visit the Zalthek capital as our official guest. Our people want to learn more about human values." "We would be honored, Captain." As the Defiance continued its orbit around the recovering worlds, Park reflected on how much had changed in just 2 weeks. They had come here as strangers, crossing hostile territory. They were leaving as friends and allies, with a galaxy full of civilizations eager to work with humanity. The legends about humans were spreading again. But this time the stories spoke of healers and teachers, protectors and friends. It was a reputation that Park and his crew would work hard to deserve.